We took the passage back down to the kitchen rather than cutting through the dining room, seeing that the only remnants of breakfast were the already washed dishes set off to finish drying off at the side.
What did you want to make?
Isn't that kind of limited based on what you're able to do? I figured we could do something together for a little bit. It doesn't need to be too involved.
Well, okay. We could make sandwiches.
Sandwiches? Sandwiches.
After my first lesson, Orlando's been reluctant to really show me anything.
This fridge, it's like a greenhouse for sandwiches. He weren't that bad, though. He literally was. He invented new ways to fuck up pancakes.
I was pretty bad, but I'll get better.
He was already wandering over to the pantry to find the bread, and after having flashbacks to what he was pulling out to make pancake batter, I was worried what he'd find instead.
You don't have to stare, Dave. I know what bread looks like.
Don't get snappy at us. I
couldn't read a label and don't know what flour is, but I know what bread looks like.
We are not well served by assuming you've heard of food before, because you eat people. Okay, well, sure, but what are we putting on it?
You can decide. I'll just be an extra set of hands while you put stuff together.
What is that?
So we're not gonna cook together. You're going to make me a sandwich.
Yeah, how many hands do you think we need for sandwich making? It's a real single player game, honestly, unless you're doing an assembly line for making a ton of sandwiches for people. I wandered over to the refrigerator and tried to think of what I'd want. Cheese, maybe? If we had the time, I'd try making egg salad, but I was never really good at knowing when eggs had been boiled long enough.
How long have you wanted to have a chat with me?
Just since this morning, really. I had a dream about you last night that just made me curious about some things.
A good dream, I hope. Was it wet? I like swimming.
I hate swimming. I'm afraid of swimming. I love it. I'm always in water. I'm afraid of it. I might be a confused character. Sal is nonstop, like, doing the fucking, like, I put the thing in my mouth and don't give it the power to kill. It's like I'm always exposure therapying the water that I'm afraid of at all times. Oh, yeah. It was a good dream for sure. But it's still kind of awkward. I feel like Sal might be a little cleaner if he wasn't afraid of water, but was just triggered by anyone, like, even suggesting, like, looking like they're drowning. The idea that he's actually afraid of water is just confusing because he's always in it, whereas him having trauma around drowning could, like, you can have PTSD that's triggered by very specific events and not just, like, an element of the world at all times.
Did you see me naked?
Wait, what?
I don't know what else might be awkward for you. I'm only guessing.
No, it wasn't that. Just tell me something. The story Ty told you guys about my dad. What were your thoughts on it? Also, what did he say?
That you were so out of it that you probably don't know exactly what the story he told us was.
That's kind of true.
But more than that, it felt a little invasive that he shared that story. It should have been coming from your mouth, given it was impacting you as hard as it was.
Yeah, but it's not invasive when we begged him to do it.
It's also not invasive when our lives are threatened and we desperately need information to figure out if the person in front of us has, like, at least as far as they were concerned, committed suicide via lethal injection of a infectious disease.
Yeah, maybe. Ty was involved too. He was allowed. Once again, Dave. I feel like you're on the wrong train of thought. Just stuff is often rationalized in this game, but not... I mean, obviously things don't always have to have literally our own thought process, but we often declare the thought process that does make sense and is logically coherent. And then Dave will say something confusing that's like adjacent to that, but actually doesn't make sense. Like, Ty witnessing your trauma doesn't necessarily mean that is not actually permission for him to share it. But you saying that he can, you telling him to, that's what gave him permission. Like, Ty had Dave's consent, but that's not the topic.
While he was hurting, yes. And while you both did break down and cry, you were the one that ended up passing out in exhaustion.
These things aren't related, but okay.
Those aren't related, yeah. And also just... It's just like when Dave knows that the body was stabbed by a knife and never shares that information, and just like, I don't know, Osmond was mysteriously dead in vague ways I won't extrapolate on. And then people are like, but what maybe you're imagining. I'm like, no, I saw a knife, but he's not gonna say that. Once again, like, he consented. He told Ty to do it. That skips this whole conversation. Ty cried because of the story? I'm such a self-involved protagonist that I don't narrate things that are happening to people. I just kind of black out all the time and pass out and don't know what other people are going through.
Because of you, likely. I didn't question it. I don't like getting involved in family things when they involve other people's families, much like I don't like people pushing themselves into matters involving mine.
Because of you, likely? Maybe Ty didn't tell the story very well, but we know that Ty basically saw David as his, like, adopted father. So it was a really bad time for him, too.
Yeah. I just feel like it's weird of him to be like, I don't like people pushing themselves into matters involving my family, when he was the one that was like, here's the matters involving my family that are incredibly prescient and important to my character. You must know this about me. He was a little bit cagey about it at first.
Kill a croc.
Exactly.
What sort of things would that cover?
Telling me how I should talk to my parents again, or, well, mostly that. I suppose a sibling dispute would also count.
Sal voice hurts.
You have no idea that I'm estranged from my parents, but I'm going to introduce that as a topic specifically to request that you do not ask me about it. A thing that you would have not known was on the table to begin with because you don't know anything about my parents. Isn't being friends sort of like being family? At least a little bit?
Yes, so don't talk to me about my friends ever.
Dave, you're the one that didn't let any of your friends know basic things about what happened to your family. So I don't know if you consider friends family, because these people apparently didn't need to know that your dad was dead. And like they were just walking through this minefield of interactions that could set you off and make you upset about your dad unknowingly because you just didn't tell any of them, even though they're supposed to be your best friends in the world.
Sometimes, but even then I share more things with certain people just because they're closer.
Like Dean in Orlando.
And you as well.
I nodded slowly and closed the refrigerator with some cheese in hand. Sal had placed a loaf of bread down along with a jar of peanut butter.
But I don't tell them everything. Much like I don't tell you everything. It's more, I tell each person stuff I need to, given what level of involvement I want them to have.
You're literally just describing talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that social interactions work in this game, this would be the hardest game ever to figure out which character's neurodivergent. Because I can't. I just can't. I can't process he described the concept of friendship. Like sometimes I share things that are personal to me with people that are closer to me. Yeah. We get it, Sal. You're 26? Wait. I don't think I quite get it. Please continue to explain it to me in Blue's Clues terms.
Well, when I need a break from Orlando being all excitable, or from Dean being himself, I'll go to the other one and vent.
Okay. Yep.
You talk about your friends behind their backs to each other.
I mean, even more than that, it's just very silly, just very odd. Like, yes, I understand. That is, when people are around, I talk to them, and when I don't want to talk to them anymore, I talk to other people. Thank you, Sal. Enlightening.
Where do I fit in? Do you talk to Dean or Orlando about me?
Not really. You're more of a recent addition to that, and it's still something I'm figuring out. It's a good thing at times, but I'm still not sure about the rest of the times.
What are we learning about Sal here is my question. What is this scene communicating?
The struggle is trying to parse whether or not Sal is extremely bad socially and has to explain basic stuff in these terms to articulate even how he's like trying to retroactively like process how interactions are supposed to work, like in a very structured and prescriptive way, and that he has to like actively think about as opposed to it being second nature to everyone, or if this is just a like just bizarre bit of exposition as is relatively common. It's hard to parse. Because I'm not helpful?
I can't rightly talk to you about issues that may arise that involve you, Dave. It's bad enough that Orlando and Dean also don't seem like fitting people to talk to about this. Perhaps Tyson if we were closer.
Wait,
What?
he got mad about Tyson sharing this very important story to the whole group, but now is literally saying like, I can't talk to Dean or Orlando about you, but I would talk to Tyson about you. I don't understand what his
It's incredibly strange
stance
for a
is.
person to openly admit they talk to certain friends about other friends to process them, and they have a specific list and network of people they talk to about things, and they're explaining it, the entire network, to one of the people. like, this is exactly how I operate. Here are my exact steps. I need to become friends with Tyson so that I can gossip about you and figure out how to talk about you. Just like how I talked to you about Orlando earlier. And this is like not just like a thing that happens organically, but a specific list. It's an order of operations, like mathematically, of how I process these people. It's also a bit weird just because like if you have issues come up with a specific person, one of the best people to talk to about that issue is that person if you actually want to deal with it. It's a mess. That sounds pretty bad. Did I do something wrong?
No, it's not that. I suppose if you're asking, there's no point in hiding it, but since we've started talking more, I found something I can't quite explain.
He screwed up the jar of peanut butter while I went to cutting the cheese into slices. I want to mix those. I don't like that. Although once the jar was open, he just stood there in a daze.
While I went to cutting the cheese into slices.
Yeah. I guess set
When
to.
I'm not sure.
When
I was
Abby
eating
died,
peanut butter when Abby died.
it was because of my own shortcomings. I was scared, and she drowned.
Maybe she drowned because she was in the fucking ocean or whatever.
And nobody was watching her.
Once things had become quiet, I was able to snap out of it so I could pull her out of the water, but I think I already knew she was already gone.
He sat down, placing the jar aside and clasping his hands together so they'd stay still, voice held low.
My parents were furious, and I remember that they weren't sad so much as angry. Maybe they were in shock, I don't know. But I was just desperately trying to do what I saw on TV to get her to breathe again.
I'll just warn you now, Toaster. Sal is the protagonist of the FNAF movie. So enjoy that.
I mean, I'm not gonna watch it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
The protagonist of the FNAF movie has a very similar traumatic childhood background thing where he was placed in charge of their sibling and then immediately that went bad. In this case, it's actually very funny because every part of the FNAF movie is funny because it's just a bad movie. In this case, they're like, watch your brother, okay? And then it literally cuts directly to the brother being kidnapped. Like instantly.
No.
Like the moment the parents turn their backs, somebody's just driving away in a car and the brother's just looking out the back window like, oh, you fucked up. Enjoy this trauma. And then it cuts to that scene 12 times.
Gotcha.
Just keeps cutting back to that scene.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that probably, but I'm glad for all the FNAF heads in the comments. Sound off in the comments below if you think that the FNAF movie was epic and based and made you pog while you were watching.
The headline is people being like, oh my god, there's these Easter eggs and these cameos and MatPat, and they used actual practical effects instead of CG. Wow, which is shorthand. Practical effects is the shorthand like film, like faux film nerd, like kind of boring opinions person take that makes them instantly say a movie's good when the movie has to still be good. Like, cool.
But also practical effects are good.
Sure.
Practical effects are good though, and movies should use them.
But people treat the practical effects as if they make the movie good, like as a rule. And it's like, okay, they made some suits. The movie still has to happen. The suits do. I cannot stress enough that the various FNAFers do basically nothing in the movie. It's incredible how they just kind of stand around and be suits on camera, and that's their entire appeal. Like it's a fucking, like it's a cosplay competition at a con on stage. Like, wow, look at that. It's a terrible movie, but I can't go into all of it now.
Yeah.
CPR.
Right. I didn't learn properly until later, much later after this, because I didn't want to be caught out not knowing just in case.
What happened after that?
We took her to the hospital and they rushed her in to try and revive her, but to no success. We waited too long.
I'm sorry, Sal. He sighed out, shaking his head.
It gets worse. I have a vague memory of someone approaching my parents and asking if they'd be willing to donate her body to research, but they wanted money for it and greedily took whatever they could.
Parents wanted the money? Is that what he means?
I think that's what he means.
I think it's contextually that seems like the implication, but grammatically it sounds like they're implying that they wanted the parents to pay to donate the money to research, the body to research.
Yes. I have a feeling that this very clearly on the nose signposting means we're gonna meet a zombie Abby who is the real mastermind behind all of this.
What? You think Abby is like in the lab?
I'm 100% certain that them dropping that very specific piece of data means that, yes, in fact, Oz did experiment on Sal's dead younger sister. Otherwise, they would not have told us that piece of information. We literally know he did experiments on children.
Yeah, I don't know though. It might be a coincidence.
If it's a coincidence, that's bad writing.
Maybe.
Abby doesn't have a grave because of that. What's left of her is in a jar I have back at mine because my parents were just going to throw it away.
What's left of her is in a jar? You're right
Probably
there?
some small amount of ashes or something.
But she was their daughter. Everyone that's donated to research is someone's daughter. Some people are like into that, like they want. I phrased that slightly weirdly. I mean, like, some people specifically want to be donated to research because they want to actually like do something after their death, as opposed to just being a thing in the ground.
I was still young, but I hid it until I was able to move out of home at the first opportunity.
You hid it?
You just hid your sister's ashes?
What do you mean you hid it?
What?
That
Your parents just didn't look for it?
hid it. That implies confusing things. Does that mean... Does hid it mean that he stole it in the first place? Was he not supposed to have the ashes? Did they, as a family, not intentionally bring ashes home after the body was used for research or something? I don't...
My guess is what he's saying is they put an urn on their mantelpiece and then he stole it one day and his parents went, "What the fuck? Where are the ashes?" And he went, "I don't know." And they went, "We're never gonna investigate this."
I don't know what to do with that thought. Like, I would question it so much less if he was just like, "I stole it when I moved out." But the hid it is a confusing... Why would he need to hide it? What does that mean? He felt the need to steal it months or years in advance and hide it away somewhere as if he was worried they would go somewhere? Like they were gonna get bored of the ashes, or they'd expire, or wander off? Like, I'm sorry, I don't think I quite understand what it is that you found, Sal. What?
Sorry, I suppose I'm rambling a bit.
Wait, did Sal find something? I'm confused at what the premise of this conversation was.
Hit it. What's left of her is in a jar I have back at mine because my parents were just going to throw it away. They were just going to throw it away. They were going to throw away the ashes? Is it ashes? Is it an organ? Is her heart? Like, is her heart in a jar? I don't...
Just 2 eyeballs floating in formaldehyde.
Oh, God. Yeah, I guess they were going to throw it out. So I was dumb there and forgot to comment when I did that little rant. But it's still like, it's contextually strange. Do his parents just not care about his sister at all? What do you mean they're going to throw it out? Or is it like the equivalent of like when you get your teeth taken out? Like when you get your wisdom teeth taken out, and some people don't want to keep it and some people do. Is that the level of what was left of her, or... But then found is a weird term, given it's not... Finding something is not implied by what he said, I don't think.
I have a box of what's supposedly Abby's ashes to remember her by. I know what it's like to have someone I love dearly die and leave a void in my life.
What did he find?
The box of ashes, I think.
Just like you do.
Either that or it's this unspoken connection between him and Dave, maybe?
Dean still has his whole family, so he'd really only know at best on a conceptual level if his brother Freddie died. Orlando never had siblings, so he's never had the same sort of attachment.
But I've lost my dad.
And because of that, as selfish as it sounds, makes me feel like I found someone that understands how I'm feeling, or what it's like.
It's
So
your
yeah, it must
turn
be.
to choke me.
He's talking about Dave.
If only I'd known, I don't know. I've raised it sooner, but you did know. We had it. You've known about the sister for ages now.
Ouch.
Don't you dare apologize. I'll kill you, Dave.
My bear
I'll do
tranquilizers
it.
are locked and ready. He thumped the counter suddenly, staring at me intently.
If you apologize for your sadness, all you're doing is denying something that's normal and expected. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to hurt. It's the normal sort of reaction to have to something like that.
I remembered something Sal had said once that didn't seem to line up, and without thinking about the consequences, the question left my mouth. What about the shots your parents got for you?
Those were an act of greed.
The shots your parents got for you. Like vaccines? What does that mean? What do you mean? I thought getting vaccines and stuff were good. What is this more child testing? What?
I was scared, sad, and my parents, now understanding that they could get money by submitting a body to science, offered me up next. So medical trials, new vaccines for stuff, they could get paid for cooperation. I was pushed forward If they could get paid for cooperation, I was pushed forward eagerly.
Huh.
So he was a member of Oswin's trial.
I was about to say, like, they did colonoscopies of me looking for autism.
Oh no.
It's all those tests that happen to people, like all those unethical tests on children, looking for fake things. But that's horrible.
Yes, well, thankfully I have my health still. Maybe I have them to thank for not really getting sick, but I'd rather not think about it that way.
Well, I'm still happy you're alive.
That makes two of us.
Glad we've established that. No, I mean, beyond that, I think. I sighed, shaking my head. I didn't know how best to raise what I really wanted to, or if it was alright to say, so I continued making slices of cheese until I ran out of the block.
You have a crush on me, don't you?
I thought we said that already. Thankfully, I'd already finished using the knife and had set it down. I flinched. What makes you say that?
You pick up cues from those you care for and hang around with.
Uh-huh.
The fur and ear tugging from Tyson. The glazed over expression you get when confused you likely get from Dean. The way you fidget and look around when bashful from Orlando.
When bashful from Orlando. Okay. Is he just saying he mimics body language of the people around him, I guess?
Yeah, wait. I thought he was explaining the idea that when you hang up around people, you start picking up on their cues, as in, like, you notice
You
them.
understand their body language.
He means that Dave is Peter Petrelli and he's absorbing cues from other people, and he's
Yes.
like every poker tell that one of his friends has, he then gains and also expresses. That's strange. I get the idea of mimicking body language, like when you end up mirroring like people crossing their legs and stuff like that, but the idea that your stress cues would match other people is odd. I don't know if that is normal behavior.
If I wasn't already trying to figure out the same thing, I'd be more at a loss of what to call it.
You have a crush on me as well? Am I the mystery person you recently developed a crush on?
Potentially. And I mean that more as a potential crush versus how correct you are.
I have a lot to say about this, and this is just like a nitpick I have, but like I really hate is a strong word. I find it really weird and self-defeating and a like aspect of like arbitrarily manufactured social anxiety when people are like, I've seen it. I've actually gotten questions about it in my retro spring, where like someone messaged me and was like, as an anonymous person, they were like, "How do you know when you're friends with someone?" And I was like, "You just are." Like it's not like a Sims meter that you hit a threshold for, and then you're friends with them.
It's not a reputation that you grind with dailies.
Yes, exactly. Like you don't meet a criteria to become a friend. And then the same thing goes with like romance. And I know there are people out there that are like, I can't date someone if I don't know them first, or like things like that. Like there are all those social comforts and things like that exist. But it is always extremely, the way that Sal is talking right now reads not as someone who is very emotionally intelligent, but as someone who just like fundamentally doesn't understand their emotions, where they're like, it's not that I'm crushing on you. I have all of these feelings that are kind of similar to crushing, and I've been paying special focus and attention on you, and I like you, and I like spending time with you, and maybe those feelings are romantic. But what I would actually say is that scientifically, I'm only 79% of a way to a crush, so really I'm just talking about the potential of crushing on you. And it's just like, what are you talking about, dude? The way that you were thinking about this
all
is
out loud to the other person, which is just like half the reason that relationships like this don't develop is people don't communicate these ideas.
Yes.
But he just is already communicating the idea that he's like a hypothetical semi-Schrodinger's crush on him and so on in a very confusing way. But like any level of it being anything other than just not a crush is a crush.
Yes, exactly. And like
you don't crush on with a gradient. It's either the absence or presence of the feeling, period.
Yes. And on top of that, this is literally canonically like 4 days after Sal was like, I don't love you. Don't tell me that you're crushing on me, because that would be bad. And it would be a bad thing to feel. And it's just like, okay, I get that you're like maybe pushing him away, or you're not there yet, but like that flip between I know how I feel and this is how I'm presenting to, well, potentially, hypothetically, if you sealed a cat in a box and the box had poison in it, the cat is both alive and dead. Anyway, I might be crushing on you. It's like, okay, dude, whatever. You're talking like you're a sim.
I'd be kind of disappointed if he ended up in a relationship with Dave, because I just figured, oh, this is just setting up the idea like he is the character that crushes on a different character and goes off with Orlando or something, or just is just aromantic and doesn't want to deal with this stuff at all, and that's just how it is, and that's just what the route is. You just kind of hang out with Sal, and he trauma dumps on you left and right while saying not to ask about his family. I hate when people get into business that isn't where they don't belong. Anyway, here's my unprompted trauma about my sister again. It gets even worse than you thought.
There are various other issues with it that mire just how genuine what I'm feeling is, too.
It's one thing to be reminded of the thing and kind of like it's not organic how it comes up, but there's a pacing thing that people are used to in games where it's like, oh, okay, this is I have finished another Mass Effect planet, and I go back on the Normandy, and now one of my side characters is going to say the next part of their canned backstory at me, because they pace it after each planet. So it's like, okay, here's the next hangout where Sal progresses and grows the backstory of his trauma in that kind of expositional way. It's weird that it's obviously, it's not, as far as like book writing goes, it's not super organic how it was introduced, but it's specifically way weirder that he preceded it with the idea that he hates people digging into business where they don't belong.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, you're about to be extremely open unprompted, so... Nothing that bad, surely.
Dean really likes you.
As his best friend. It's not exactly right to be laying claim to someone he's presumably in the middle of courting.
But what if I don't like him the same way back?
Then if you've been stringing him along thus far, I expected better of you.
Stringing him along? We literally have ignored him the whole time! What?
Yeah. I can only assume I can only assume he's referring to off-camera stuff from before the game started, which we don't experience, so we can't, like, comment on it. So it's just like... I don't know. It's strange, because it's a game with routes, and I think it feels like you could probably be romantically involved in most of these characters, but Dean is always in the background as a strange, like pseudo Leo. Because Leo's somebody that Chase actually dated for years and was intimate with, and also left on bad terms, and is literally stringing along. Dean and Dave, like, you're explicitly told by Dean that you haven't been on a proper date yet, because he's introduced as the character that's old-fashioned and wants to have a proper date before actually getting lewd, despite all of the lewd jokes. So that means that they've done seemingly nothing? Just flirted, and knowing how Dean goes so far mostly means being flirted at. So it's a strange version of stringing him along. It's very like Seattle Furs or whatever it was called. That comic. I don't know. I whined, and Sal shook his head as he scratched the back of his neck.
Sorry, it's just a bit difficult for me to justify destroying a friendship I cherish with Dean over potentially seeing where we end up. Especially so if I'm not even sure what I'm feeling is romantic or not.
You punched him in the face. My best friend's girl. Sal and Dean need a revision. They need some kind of rapport. Any level of interaction that shows they even know each other, let alone are like familiar with each other, like in jokes, things that they like, shared memories, really just interacting outside of one of them punching the other one in the face, and also sharing drugs, I guess, off camera.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can tell? I know I'm not really in the best place to really be discussing options or alternatives, but like, what else am I meant to do?
You're right there.
He took the slices of bread out of the bag and laid them out neatly before taking his hands away, as if presenting them for me to assemble into something sandwich-like. Once again, the word "as if" is strangely used, because there's a lot of actions just very deliberate and only have one interpretation. But as if suggests, like, it's open to interpretation, like you have to guess what's happening here. Which, given how half of these characters describe social interactions, maybe that is genuinely how they're processing it. I will say that if there's...
I will say that if there's anything...
I literally thought that you were just saying something to me, so when you stopped, I was like, did someone
no.
come into your room or something?
I just realized that I started reading Sal's line.
I will say that if there's ever anything to happen, I'll have to talk to Dean about it, as will you. It's only the fair thing to do.
We owe Dean nothing, motherfucker, nothing!
Nobody should get involved in business they don't belong in, but Dean needs to immediately know about our relationship status. What if we just didn't? The most spine Dave has ever shown.
I just said that I'm not risking Dean's friendship over this.
No, I mean, didn't become anything more than just friends. You know, close maybe, but hell, I didn't even know you were into me that way until a few minutes ago. We don't even know if we're compatible. We don't even know if a Turian and a Quarian can have sex without dying.
I suppose that's fair. It's not as if I'm very experienced in this either. About as much as you, in fact.
Really? You've not done anything?
Consider it a lack of interest, maybe. However, that's another thing I'm likely going to need to consider. It's hard to deny the heart what it wants when it decides on something.
So has it? I always just thought that part of growing up, that was part of growing up and being an adult. You know, having to make the hard calls or whatever. Groaning, I started to put cheese on the slices of bread, as if on autopilot. Not that I've ever really needed to make calls like that, at least not yet.
Someday you might have to, and that day might be coming sooner than you think. I don't need to tell you that'll be different than just picking what sort of pizza you want to order.
You're 15 days into a death game and you're gonna say you've never had to make a hard call before? I guess he has been, like, actively refusing to make choices, basically, but, that's only the start of it. We still need to figure out everything else going on around here, plus why I almost...
died. Which, yes, I agree. There's just so much going on, but you should be no stranger to rest days.
What makes you say that?
You worked a gym, didn't you? Remember, you need to give yourself time to breathe, otherwise you'll hurt yourself.
Haven't I been mostly unconscious for like 2 days? He stood, sighing out a tired breath and flashing me a quick smile.
Which reminds me that we should really hurry up here so we can get to that movie.
Are you sure you still want to watch a movie with me?
Dave, no matter what the future may hold for us, as of right now, we're still friends. I feel like watching the movie together, even with others, will only reinforce that.
We finished making sandwiches and put them in the refrigerator for later on before heading upstairs. I felt a little better, if equally uncertain for what the future may bring. But the moment we stepped into the rec room, I noticed Tyson and Haas in the middle of some discussion about something Haas had on his phone.
What about this one?
Her outfit is stupid. Her sleeves don't even attach the rest of her clothes.
I'll have you know that outfit is classic Shrine Maiden stuff.
I preferred the one that said fuck it to the sleeves entirely. You know, the one with horns.
Oh, you like the Oni?
The what? Dave, please say you're here to watch a movie, because if I get shown one more girl in stupid clothes, I'm gonna punch something. Maybe don't go being violent?
Big dog just can't help it, can he?
Has Tyson ever been violent?
I mean, as a child, he allegedly stapled someone's ears.
Yeah, I mean, like, in these 15 days, has Tyson ever been violent?
No, Tyson hasn't done anything wrong.
Because people that didn't know him as a kid shouldn't be like, that's Tyson, always quick to violence. I'm like, he's not on my list of people that are quick to violence in the story. Haas razzed Ty further by aggressively rubbing a spot between his ears, hopping up before Ty could get a hold of him.
Sorry we took so long. We were making lunch.
Already? The fuck are you making lunch for? Just something to do while I had other stuff to do? Good save, Dave. You're such a dork. Fine. You can at least get started now, yeah? I think so. As long as Haas is done showing you whatever it was. Oh, yeah, he's done. Even if he says otherwise.
All right, fine, but we're only putting a pin in this because I swear you need to pick one before it's too late.
I took a moment to get myself comfortable and just enjoy a moment where the people around me were happy. It was nice, slowly easing back into things as if things were back to normal. So, what are we watching? Do we have a movie in mind, or?
We have options.
That was just funny. This is a funny response to that.
It's
Plenty of anime to watch.
It's speaking but not saying anything.
Yes. Plenty of anime to watch. Honestly, surprising how much there is in the way of genre coverage.
If you're rich, why not just download or buy everything just because you can, right? I don't know, that seems kind of wasteful, doesn't it?
Dave has a point, unless they have a boat hidden somewhere. Rich people have boats.
What?
Is the boat going to be how we escape in the end? He's actually going to have a boat hidden somewhere. It's going to be filled with Nazi gold, and we're gonna escape into international waters.
Why did he say that? What does he mean?
I have no idea.
I'm
experiencing this visual novel
seems kind
as
of
a
wasteful.
fever dream.
So, rich people have boats.
Rich people have boats. Does anyone else smell toast?
I don't think Sal was listening. I think Sal was doing that thing where somebody opens a sentence in a way that structurally implies that it's related to what was just being said, but really they're just voicing a random thought.
They're zoning out.
Which is a thing that people do. I think he just zoned out, like, rich people have boats. One of the most annoying things you can do, and I've known many people that do this, is just whenever you start talking, just open with the phrase, "That reminds me," every time. Whenever you just want to butt into a conversation. Because it stun locks me. I just sit there and I'd sit there for like 30 seconds trying to backtrack how the fuck that reminds you of anything. Because so often the people that say the phrase, "that reminds me," just say random shit that have nothing to do with the conversation. They're just like, what they're actually doing is saying it. What they actually mean is, this conversation is boring. I want to talk about something else. This is a thing that I'm currently fixated on. We're talking about this now, and it has nothing to do with the previous thing. But they say "that reminds me," and I just make dial-up noises in my head while I try to figure out what the fuck the connection was, and there usually isn't one. It's like a trap card.
We're on a mountain, though. They probably just have it stashed somewhere that it actually gets some use.
There's mountain lakes. Pretty far from the ocean, but maybe there's a lake nearby.
A lake wouldn't be bad to swim in or go fishing.
That's great and all, but this isn't helping us decide what anime we're watching.
We're not watching anime, Haas.
Top 10 betrayals. Why not?
Because he said so? I'm guessing? I kind of want to watch that one movie that... Wait, was it one movie or two?
I don't know what's going on here, but I feel like this is a scene where the author is trying to be like, I want them to talk about anime, but I'm not allowed to name any anime. So let's just vaguely reference and talk about nothing to make it seem like they're anime fans that are talking about anime.
I've just been slowly losing my mind at the number of conversations that are about logistics. It's always, what are people planning on doing, or what are people going to do? And we spend way more time describing people thinking about doing stuff than doing stuff. But the dialogue about them thinking about doing something is rarely illuminating about their personalities.
Yes.
And like, I mean that on a level deeper than Haas likes anime, Tyson doesn't like anime, which is a note that's repeating over and over again, and it's already established. but the conversation about this stuff is not informing the characters deeper. But at the same time, gaining insight onto characters and their personalities does mean something different. Like, on one hand, it means something different than just this person likes anime, that person doesn't like anime. But at the same time, it also isn't the same thing as, like, it is now time for Sal to trauma dump his backstory in explicit exposition unbroken for several minutes. Like,
Yes.
that's also not what I mean. Like, I just mean, like, there's textured ways that different characters talk about topics, and the conversation should be structured in a way to give you that texture and implications about each person that is pushing things forward and filling them out and making them feel like more like real people. But instead, we get mired in logistical conversations, and they're almost always functionally the same conversation over and over again, which is them trying to decide what to do and not really doing anything new in the process, but still writing out the whole scene in its entirety unnecessarily in the same way. It just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I don't know what movie he's talking about. Any ideas, Tyson?
In a moment like this, I'm like, Sal, why are you interrupting? Like, Dave is just like, oh, I watched that one movie that... Wait, was it one movie or two? And like, I don't know, just let him think for a second. Don't be like, oh, damn, I don't know what he means based on the 0 things he said. Do you know what he means based on the 0 things he said, Tyson? Let's all interrogate what he might have meant while from not saying anything in any way. No clue. Come on, you know the one that's with the people, and they go to the thing with the ring. There you go. You reached a noun. Lord of the Rings. There's 3 of them.
If we're watching that one, should I go get Roswell?
Huh? Why Roswell?
No, I don't think he means that one, Hoss. I don't think Dave is talking about anything with wrestling involved either.
No, come on, Ty. We've watched this one before. His blank expression makes me realize that he has absolutely no clue what it was I was talking about. Maybe if you've found a second noun. Can I have a clue? It's, not the space one. The space... The fuck did they make a space movie with a ring in it?
I thought that was a video game.
See what I mean? They're like they're doing that thing. I think I talked about this in another episode of some furry visual novel or Let's Try that we did, where they're like, where people think that they're not allowed to name things because of copyright, and they're like, I don't want to be copyright struck. Like, for whatever reason, like that persistence exists, which is like, that's why you can't have like a visual novel where someone goes on Google. It has to go on Zoogle or whatever, you know? I think we did this in Socially Awkward. We talked about it. That's what he's doing right now. He's going like, we're going to talk about anime or games, but we can't name any of them, so we're just going to make quirky references to them, and then the audience will feel smart for knowing what we're talking about. But all that means is that these people are just talking in circles going, what about that thing? You mean the thing that has Master Chief in it? Yeah. I don't think it's that one. What about the box with the X on it? Ah, yes. The box
Master
X.
Chief would still be too specific, because they're having a full conversation where they seemingly know what each other mean, but none of them are guessing anything out loud because like they're afraid to.
It's just a really, this is not a very good way of communicating. I don't like this.
No, there were things and God, what did they do with the ring in that movie?
Volcano.
Yeah, Volcano. I want to watch that movie. 1996's Volcano, starring the Jurassic Park man.
You were so close, Keith. You were so close.
Is it 97?
It's 97.
The same year. It was
Your
also Dante's
nerd
Peak
cred.
The same year.
Who's the cinephile now?
Remember when they melted Grandma?
The tagline of that movie is, "The coast is toast."
Coast is toast. It's you.
Hello, it's me,
there.
Toast. I was there.
You were 3.
I have nightmares about volcanoes all the time.
Do you really?
Anyway,
Wait,
yeah, volcanoes are like a big factor in my nightmares. Usually, my number one nightmare that I have consistently is like I'll be driving down an empty highway, and then somewhere behind me a volcano erupts, and it's just a race against time to see if I get engulfed by the volcano or not.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's my repeating stress dream.
Is that even like a fear that you think about in your waking life ever, or is it just the thing that comes up in your dreams?
Just the thing that comes up in my dreams. It's not really something I think about in my life anymore. When I lived in a very active volcano zone, it was something that I did think about.
Growing up in California, all I ever think about is just like once a year, someone would just periodically remind you, "Hey, there's some kind of mega volcano where like if it erupts one day, it would end the world." And someone just brings that up every now and then, and I don't know even how useful or accurate that information is.
I used to live
right on top of.
Yeah, I used to live right on top of Yellowstone. So like the constant fear mongering in the early 2010s of like Yellowstone is 500 years post when it's supposed to erupt. So it's going to erupt and destroy the planet and instantly vaporize everyone in X amount of miles. My brain used to melt thinking about that. But like, yeah, it was pretty brutal. But it's not actually something I'm that stressed about. When I lived in Japan, it was also like a problem.
Toaster, your mom let you have 2 9/11s?
Yeah. But fuck. I'm gonna keep that one. That's gonna be a joke that I reference to other people and then claim I came up with it. That's good. So I gotta catch my breath after that.
Just ambient stress nightmares about just like, hey, here's all the things that are gonna end you that you just grow up with the thought of and you can't do anything with.
Yep.
Everyone hide under your desks for the nukes that will be protected from by science desks. I love being American.
Yeah. Oh. That's something like 3 movies, but that's gonna eat up literally the rest of the day if we watch all of them in order.
Good. Imagine these groups of friends doing something.
Imagine them hanging out.
We should talk about the logistics of it instead for 9 hours and then go to bed and pass out and then dream about my dad and then wake up and then pass out and then make a sandwich and then pass out. Is that a problem?
So long as we don't tell Dean and Orlando. They both love those movies. Why wouldn't you tell them?
Why would... What? Yeah, wait,
is he saying we're not going to tell them we're not going to watch them? Yes. Hey, Keith, I am not going to watch The Dark Crystal today. Hopefully you don't lose your mind over this. What?
We could just wait until we're all ready to watch the movie together and watch them then? We're ready to watch them now. Wait, what are Dean and Orlando doing? Can't we just be like, hey, Lord of the Rings, they're Schmort of the Schmings, we're gonna watch the off-brand copyright. Fuck it. If they like those movies, then they've seen them before. They can watch them in their own time. You sure that's okay?
I've lost the thread on why they aren't here.
Yeah, I don't remember why they're not here. They're probably... It's not like they're far away. You can't text them anymore, but you can just go to where they are, which you probably know because everyone fucking RSVPs everywhere they're going with all their friends in advance. And like, I'm gonna be in the greenhouse for the next 8 hours, so like, you probably know where they are. You sure that's okay?
Worst case scenario, we can just blame you if they get all uppity about missing out on the movie. They had their chance.
Once again, a contradictory statement. They had their chance, but blame Dave. Those are 2 different contradicting thoughts. Because yeah, we RSVP everything that happens every day, so everyone knows we were watching a movie. We talked about that, right? So they could have just shown up if they want to watch a movie. But he also says blame Dave, which that doesn't match. Wow, rude. But if I'm getting blamed for watching something I want to watch, then we better watch it.
Alternatively, we could just watch something else.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna shut down and melt. I'm just gonna die. Just watch a fucking movie. Well, it's either this or anime. So what? That's the two genders, anime and Lord of the Rings.
I shall load up the anime then.
This conversation's too long and doesn't make sense.
The thing is that they
watching anime.
The thing is they haven't even decided what anime they're going to watch.
No.
So this whole conversation is going to repeat the second that they're like...
conversation's going, the anime they're going to watch is the anime. The one anime. Yes. There's there's one movie trilogy, Lord of the Rings, and one anime, and those are the only options. You can't watch a different movie. That's impossible. I don't understand this conversation.
People are stressful.
For the rest of the afternoon, we enjoyed watching movies. After the first, we took a break for snacks before getting right back to it. But then we were right back to it soon. Blah, blah, blah. But then we were right back to it soon after, and before I knew it, we were done. I'm begging for a rewrite. I'm begging for a rewrite of this scene. Write the part where they do the thing, instead of the part where they talk about doing the thing for 20 minutes, and then skipping the part where they do the thing.
Yeah, the whole thing with this scene is that it's here to tell us that they're going to watch anime, but it doesn't communicate anything to us. So here's a cool thing that you could do instead. You can just type, then me and Sal went to the anime room and we watched anime.
What I'm struggling with is just that, like, if you establish a piece of media in your setting, whether it's a real life piece of media you're referencing or a piece of media you made up for your setting, having your characters react to that media is development of the characters.
Yeah.
And skipping the scene gives us nothing about their interaction with this media, which means we don't learn about their characters. And, like, I'm saying this as somebody who, in whatever hack level of writing I've ever done, in one of my attempts at writing a story, like the opening chapter was just my three characters discussing the movie Joker, and that was the entire conversation. And, like, that informs the characters and how they think about things, and, like, that's helpful. I think, did you read that one? That was the it was when I was poking at making that one horror premise with the three characters. They were driving in a car in their prologue that leads to, like, it leads to the inciting incident, but it's leading up to the inciting incident. It's just introducing the characters via a conversation about media. So, like, I'm specifically attuned to the idea that you can characterize people by having them discuss media.
Yeah, I did read this. I don't remember anything in it. I'm sorry, but I did read it. I remember, now that you mentioned Joker, I do remember you sending this to me.
It featured the line, TJ probably fucks through a sheet and then cries about it.
Yeah.
Which is very funny because it predates me actually getting to TJ's route in Echo, because it has Echo references in it. It's a goofy story. But yeah. What a stupid line. But yeah, this is they don't even say what they watched. Not even, like, what genre. We went to painstaking detail almost about a thing they didn't watch, but they just spent the afternoon watching something. Then they took a break for snacks, then watched more, and then it was over. That's the scene. I'm gonna pull my hair out.